I know you gentlemen have been through a lot, but when you find the time, I'd rather not spend the rest of this winter tied to this fucking podcast. The thing coming up next.
Haven't Seen It with Tim Sestito and Tommy Tevenang. Hello, everybody. Welcome on in. Thank you all so much for listening today. This is a podcast where one of us is watching a movie for the very first time. And today, that person is myself, Tommy. I'm watching one of your favorites today, bud.
How'd you feel? Do you see where I was going there with that?
I don't know if I can trust you, dude. Honestly, how can you watch this movie and trust anybody ever again?
Yeah, pretty much. It's just everyone could be the thing. You never know, Even the person that's the thing doesn't know they're the thing.
Exactly, dude. That's the terrifying thing about it. So John Carpenter's The Thing, the 1982 classic. It's a remake of a movie from the 50s, right? That didn't do well, if I'm informed correctly.
Well, neither did this one, but that's it. We'll get to that. But the thing was it was called The Thing from Another World, for a 1950s movie, and yeah, it's a remake of that.
Well, yeah, we'll get into this movie not doing that well financially, but I mean, this is a near perfect film. This is The Thing.
Its origin, alien. Location, Antarctica. Age, unknown. Intent, survival. Destination, man. John Carpenter's The Thing, the ultimate in alien terror. Rated R. Starts Friday at a theater near you. Check newspapers for local listings.
So this movie, Tommy, you're the horror guy out of the two of us. Where does this rank for you among your favorite horror movies?
I think that on this rewatch, or honestly, like even before this rewatch, this might be my top 10 movies of all time. This movie, there's very few holes you can poke in it to say like, oh, why it's like bad or anything like that. And I think that just everything that this movie holds up, the special effects are still great, and it's just perfect, like a near perfect movie.
The practical effects are insanely well done. They still hold up to this day.
It's one of those things about the practical effects that like they did like a sequel to this in 2011, which was kind of forgettable. And one of the reasons why that was forgettable is because they used CGI. Like if this movie was made today, obviously it'd be so much CGI and it'd probably look fake and wouldn't look nearly as good and just look kind of like shitty and take you out of the movie. So, you miss like the days of practical effects when like they were just, this is like almost the ultimate degree of practical effects right here.
Yeah, who is it? David Coletti was the lead or one of the leads on the.
No, the lead was Rob Bottin.
Rob
he
Bottin
was 22 years old when he made this movie. The other credits you might know him on, he did The Howling, RoboCop, Basic Instinct, which we covered, Seven, Mission Impossible, and Fight Club. So, he's had a really great career, obviously, after this movie. He put in so much fucking work into special effects that he would stay on set overnight. And it got to the point that he literally had to go to the hospital for exhaustion because he was doing this like 24/7, just living, breathing this movie. And you have to commend the effort.
I'm just listening to the fact that he was 22 years old, and I'm just like, God damn, this dude was making The Thing. He was 22 years old. Yeah, that like reminds me of like Spielberg, like your first big opportunity in Hollywood, and you're not gonna squash that chance. And the guy's just literally working all overnight. I know Spielberg after Jaws, like he had a panic attack and like collapsed in a hospital after that. The special effects, but I wanted to mention the lighting. I really loved how this movie was shot. Like I love how like when it's outside, it's like during the day it's nice and clear, but most of it takes place at night. And the way that it's like got this like bluish tint to it, and when they light the flares, it's almost a little purplish around their face. It's just such good cinematography.
There's even some scenes where like a certain character, that's the thing. Like you notice that all the other characters, what you see on rewatches is that like the other characters that aren't the thing, like their eyes are clear and you can see everything, but you can see like the eyes of like the guy who's supposed to be the thing is slightly darker or just like obscured a little bit, just in the way that they lit the shot. And one of the best parts about the cinematography by Dean Cundy is, you know, with the special effects, he knew how to light it just perfectly that it showed enough, but it didn't give you so much that it was just like, this looks fake. You could see like the strings or whatever. So they don't allow that to happen.
No, and Dean Cundy had like an interesting career too. Like he did Jurassic Park. He did some like really massive hits in like the
Yeah.
90s and the early 2000s, and then somehow that man ended up doing Jack and Jill, and it's you know he must have just been on that set being like, what happened to me, man? What went wrong?
I think it's artistic integrity at that point. I was like, whatever, because he also did Garfield. It looks like, no, of his actual good movies. I mean, he shot like Who Framed Roger Rabbit, like I said, Jurassic Park, even Back to the Future.
And people wouldn't even realize on like Roger Rabbit, especially like how important the lighting is in that, because that's what makes the animation effect work so well there, is the way that the lighting is balanced and how the cartoons are animated to shade to like really fit into the world. I remember watching a video from Captain Kristen. It's this guy on YouTube. Definitely check his channel out. The theory was called Bump the Lamp. There's a scene where he bumps the lamp around or whatever. And it was about how when the lighting changes like that, keeping the animation cells like changing and keeping the shadows change to make them feel realistic. And like that is a huge testament to the animators, but a huge testament to the cinematography as well.
It's great. I mean, Dean Cundy, I mean, he got into this movie because he was pretty much a frequent collaborator of Carpenter. He did pretty much all of Carpenter's early movies, like The Halloween, The Fog, Escape from New York, and even like the produced sequel to Halloween that John Carpenter did. So, you know, he just brought back to us well right here. And he's like, I know this guy can do the work for me.
Is this John Carpenter's best movie?
I'd have to say so. I mean, like I said, there's not much you could say against it. It's just so great side to great. And, you know, I love John Carpenter. He's one of my favorite directors, but this movie just is on, I feel like almost a whole nother tier than some of his other movies.
I think on a technical level, absolutely. I still think I enjoyed Big Trouble in Little China a bit more just because it was so fun and zany and just another Kurt Russell collaboration. Kurt Russell is just great in all his John Carpenter depictions, not counting Escape from LA, of course.
Oh no, he's still great in that. I'll take Snake surfing in LA any time of the week.
Listen, it's cheesy, it's fun, but like it's, you know, and Escape from New York has problems of its own, but
you kind of let it slide.
You can let it slide now, but it's definitely not one of Carpenter's best movies.
New York is, but not LA.
No, not LA. New York for sure. LA definitely not. So Kurt Russell is R.J. McCready. He is a pilot on this Antarctic base. They're doing kind of some research project or whatever, and they discover some Norwegians attack their base, and they go explore where they were holed up, and they discover that everybody's body has been mutilated that still lived in that little campus. And when I'm thinking about it now, that's in the first 10 minutes that the Norwegians land at their base and just start firing at them.
Well, not even just firing at them, like firing at the dog at first, and you're
firing at everybody. And I'm thinking like this is such a great precursor to the paranoia that's about to come, because this movie is a paranoia thriller. That's what it is. And like the thing itself has been frozen in Antarctic for 10,000 years, and it was awoken when the Norwegians dug it up, and it lives based off of heat and on body, and it needs to attach itself to all life form to make itself whole again so it can freeze and wait for the next people to discover it. And fire is the only thing that kills it. That's like the exposition of the movie. Did I do that well, Tommy? You've seen this.
Yeah, I mean, that's essentially what it is. Pretty much this is just an alien. Don't know where it came from. It doesn't really matter, but it's, yeah, if it touches you, you're pretty much fucked.
Well, I like how the exposition was really done in this movie, because we do need some explanation for what's going on, but it's more of a thesis than anything from the team, like, and obviously it's accurate because it has to be for the movie, but it's them like discovering this. And one of the scientists who's played by Wilford Brimley, Dr. Blair, has to makes the hypothesis that of how the thing hosts itself to other bodies. Tommy, do you think interacting with the thing gave Wilford Brimley diabetes?
Was that where it started right there with the diabetes?
If you have type 2 diabetes like I have,
Didn't expect that one. This was his first movie, so I mean, like, maybe Hollywood just took control of him because of this. After that, and that's pretty good. The old Vetus.
It was very jarring to see him without the mustache because I feel like everybody our generation is only going to recognize him from the diabetes commercial.
Yeah.
And he is like the scientist, and he ends up being like the main host of the thing, correct? Like at the end when the
Yeah.
giant creature reveals it was him that they had isolated and they had correctly assumed was the main host, the main source host body.
What's great is that with Brimley is that they pretty much they lock him up at one point during the movie, and then he's gone from like 40, 50 minutes in the movie, where you almost kind of forget about him. And at that point,
You definitely forget about him.
yeah, you definitely forget about him. And like that was one of the reasons why they casted him as like some everyman. Obviously, it's before it became famous. They're originally going to have like Donald Pleasance in the role, and it'd be too much because you'd be wondering like, where the hell's Donald Pleasance right now? And it works, especially in the movie. And this, where like, Brimley obviously his stature's gone up, but I still think it works in a little bit where you just don't really think about him for a little bit.
I also think casting is like a really strong suit of this movie. I can't, outside of Wilford Brimley and Knowles, Childs, sorry, who's Keith David's character. They all have their little personality quirks. All the guys at the base, and they all like exhibit it when you're paying attention. Like you just see the little differences of how they interact, what makes them different. But it's not super stated. It's very subtle. It's very underneath the surface, and I really like that in this kind of movie because I think it adds to the tension. As the tension increases, as they realize that the base has been infected, they start to distrust each other more and more. And the way that like builds up and grows, I was like completely compelled. I couldn't look away from the screen the entire time.
It's great. And what's awesome about the alien in this movie is that it's impersonating people, but it's not really obvious, like in some movies like Invasion of the Body Snatchers, where it's like, oh, the infected person has no emotions. These people, you don't know that they're the thing until literally the moment that they're fucking like opening up their jaws to like kill you. And that just brings so much more tension, where in any scene, even on rewatches, you're thinking, is this guy the thing right now? Is this guy the thing? Over and over again.
I really like when everybody thinks McCready's the thing. When they're out on an expedition, and I think Childs is the one who finds his like ripped up jersey. It's like a 40 below storm or whatever, and he brings it in, and all the guys turn on him. He's ready to blow up the base, and then he comes up with this very clever plan to try to figure out who is infected and who isn't. Obviously, he's not going to perform it on himself, but for all the men on the base.
Oh, no, he does it on himself. He does it on himself.
Oh, does he do it on? Okay,
Yeah.
Thank you for clarifying, Tom.
We're gonna draw a little bit of everybody's blood. We're gonna find out who's the thing. Watching Norris in there gave me the idea that maybe every part of him was a whole. Every little piece was an individual animal with a built-in desire to protect its own life. You see, when a man bleeds, it's just tissue. The blood from one of you things won't obey when it's attacked. It'll try and survive. Crawl away from a hot needle, say.
So that's like the beginning of this clip, and I love how the tension escalates, like the quipping back and forth as he drops more and more of the blood. And Tommy, you'll have to tell me which guy ends up being the thing. They're all tied to the couch and to these chairs, like roped down.
The guy is Palmer, is the character, but it's one. Even seen this movie like 100 times. In the beginning of the scene, for a while, you can almost kind of forget like which one it is. So the tension still keeps up and up.
'Cause it
And
goes on for a while.
yeah, they literally let it draw out where they literally like the guy who is the thing is what, like the third or fourth person in.
Yeah.
And at that point, you have like great tension where you're thinking, okay, like maybe no one's the thing, maybe it's okay, maybe it's all good. And then gets to Palmer, and it's such an effective jump scare where immediately the blood comes out and it's like, oh my fucking God.
Yeah.
And then it gets into the crazy special effects.
And I noticed that he always has his hand kind of like palmed up, and they keep showing the same shot every time he tests the blood too. So you're very used to like what image you should be seeing. And then when the jump scare actually comes, it actually shocks you because it's not, I feel like a lot of times in like mediocre horror movies, they'll do it 2 times, and then the third time the camera starts to pan and zoom out and take place from like a different angle to like, it's basically letting the audience know it's coming.
Yeah.
This one, it's like, this could keep going for another 15 minutes. You have no idea how long they're going to keep running these blood tests for.
It's insane in that aspect because yeah, like a terrible horror movie would just have no tension to it right there with the jump scare where it just did. But and they tried to redo this in the remake and it just didn't work as well. It just like I don't know, they just couldn't get the right tone right there. But this just is great at just keeping you suspenseful throughout, and it's the best scene in the movie, probably easily.
This movie can't be remade in this current era or like the past era. Like any studio funding anything, it requires too much dialogue, requires too much space to be filled with talking. Like this movie, like I feel like at least a quarter of this movie is just silence.
One of the things, yeah, it's just a lot of like small character moments, but this movie itself is a remake, and it's kind of interesting to look at like how remakes are different from like when they were in the 80s or something like that, where Lily Carpenter, all he did was he liked the original movie, but then he didn't want to touch that really, so he went more to the novella of this whole movie franchise is based on, and instead made it much more this like shape-shifting alien thing, whereas in the original movie it was just like a guy in a suit that was just like an alien from another world. And you couldn't do that today, because then today people would be like, well, you need this scene, you need that scene, you need that. Like, you need to respect the franchise that you're remaking and stuff like that. Whereas Carpenter, he's like, I don't give a fuck. We're just going to base it on something else. And yeah, it shares the same name, but there's not that much in common other than like, the setting of the Antarctic.
I feel like one other thing about remakes is like, from what I've never seen the original, The Thing from Outer Space, but from what I understand, it's decent, but it's got its flaws. And I feel like from what I've read online, this kind of perfects a lot of the issues the other one has. I feel like the style in the 80s of remakes was taking movies that did okay and weren't great, and then enhancing them, like having another set of eyes on them and enhancing them. Where today remakes are like The Thing. Oh, this is this iconic movie. Let's make a prequel to it. Let's remake it. RoboCop, all these like 80s franchises, but they don't serve any purpose, and they're completely missing what made the original so great and the soul of those movies. And like that's my big issue with like current day remakes. And then don't get me started on the Disney trend of taking these billion-dollar animated movies and then making the same movie again, but it's live action.
Well, the main problem is that it doesn't seem like as creative. Is that like they just feel the need in like more modern day remakes just to recreate the iconic scenes over and over again. Where it's just like, why don't you just like take the basic setting and just like do something, make your own of it. You don't have to need incessant callbacks to such and such thing over and over again.
Yeah, and it's like because movies have become so like intellectually property driven, it's like their studios are scared to take on original ideas, but it's like there's like 7 settings in any movie. There's not 7 settings, like 10 different stories that you can really tell. It's like it's how you tell it, it's how you differentiate the style. If you make people think like, oh, this movie is like this really popular movie I loved growing up, I'll go see it under a new IP with doing it differently but kind of telling a very similar story. I think that stands out way more than any like RoboCop remake, right? Like I think of John Wick as like the perfect example of pushing the boundaries of action movies forward, when it could have very easily have just been like, what if we just take Keanu Reeves' character from Speed and we just make him this badass action cop, and now he's a bounty hunter or whatever, right? Like
Yeah,
you could
they
it
could
could
have
have just
easily.
been a speed spinoff or whatever, like, because we got to get the big title, we got to get the big name to get people in the seats. And I don't think that's necessarily true. I just think studios are too scared to invest like $30 million into something anymore, because they're just waiting for, they want to invest 150 million to make a billion.
Yeah. And there's just too much riding on it nowadays. Where it's just like in like Star Wars, for example, where it's just like, you have to show the iconic character right there, or else the fandom's gonna get upset right there.
Yeah. Do we really want to go
And
down
that's
that rabbit hole?
that's a whole other topic right there.
I will say it's refreshing to hear Taika Waititi say that he wants to abandon any canon for whatever his sequel, whatever his Star Wars, and it's just going to be its own thing, which I think is the best thing that could happen to Star Wars, because it's basically just like, even the Kenobi
Yeah.
series, I was like, oh, maybe this will be good, and it's okay. It's gotten better, but it's like, it's so reliant on, like, we have to have Princess Leia as a kid in it. It's like,
Yeah, nostalgia bait of it. We've been talking about how great this movie is, obviously, and how much we loved it. And one of the things that's crazy when you do like research on this is that people hated this remake. They hated the thing when it first came out. It bombed at the box office. The week that we're releasing this is the week of its 40th anniversary, and for some reason, people just didn't latch onto it. I mean, what do you think? Why? I mean, E.T. came out 2 weeks beforehand.
well, I was going to ask you that. Do you think that really played a big part into it? Like, that was a PG movie versus an R movie, but from like a critical standpoint, you just saw like a masterpiece in E.T. And then you go to The Thing, like, because I saw the Roger Ebert review where he was just like, it's bad body horror, and I'm like, it's not even that expansive. Like, the tension is
Yeah.
when the creature isn't in the room, when it's just the guys, and that's most of the movie.
It's one of those things that this movie has gone over such a critical reappraisal. But Timmy, I'm gonna give you some quotes that some of the critics said over the year when it first came out.
Lay it on
This
me.
is terrible. It's like some of the worst reviews you ever heard. So Vincent Canby said, qualifies only as instant junk. Dave Kerr says, hard to tell who's being attacked and hard to care. Ebert dismissed it as a knockoff of Alien. And the guy who directed the original thing, the one from the 50s, said, if you want blood, go to the slaughterhouse. All in all, a terrific commercial for J&B Scotch. And then the last one I want to bring up is Alan Spencer of Starlog, which is like a fan magazine at the time, said, Carpenter was never meant to direct science fiction horror movies. He's better suited to direct traffic accidents, train wrecks, and public floggings.
Jesus, that is brutal.
Yeah, people just eviscerated him for some reason. Like, there's like articles at the time as like the thing, the most hated movie of all time. I guess people just like thought that it was too gross. Like, oh god, these special effects are way too much. And it's just like they weren't able to see like everything else. Like why we love the movie today.
I just really wish any Eli Roth movie was released at the same time as The Thing, so they could have like comparison of like true gross out, like disgusting body horror movies compared to
Yeah.
like The Thing, which is like has like 7 minutes of effects in it.
It's not nearly as bad. I mean, the effects still work and are still great, but yeah, it's not like we literally want to like. I personally don't feel like I need to barf when I see this forever, or like gag.
I think this is a case of a movie that could only be made in this era, but it wasn't ready for its audience, right? Like the audience was not ready for it.
Yeah,
Because like the subtle style, like the silence, like just the true craftsmanship behind the filmmaking really like exudes. And I feel like if you like this kind of movie, if this released in 2003, probably catches on a lot better than it did when you think of like Saw or Final Destination or any of those movies that were big horror movie franchises that kind of came out at the same time. This style, this much tension wouldn't have been made in that 20 years later. So it's like a very weird case, and like I totally understand why it's now renowned as one of the great movies, great horror movies of all time. It feels more contemporary outside of like the Chess Master computer system that they're using.
that's the only thing that ages the movie. That, and I guess like the Space Invaders arcade game, wherever the fuck.
That could still be at a base, right? Like they just brought it down
Yeah.
there in the 80s. It's just still there.
Yeah.
I do find it interesting how hard it was panned because my first viewing of it, and I like to go into movies pretty blind, like I really didn't know what to expect. I couldn't believe how compelled I was just watching it, and I wish I was able to join you when you went and saw this in the theaters, correct, for this viewing?
Yeah. I've seen this movie now twice in the theaters. This one was through Fathom Events, and it was great seeing on the big screen. But Fathom, this has been going on in the news lately, fucked up the screening so much where apparently nationwide they cut the aspect ratio. I forget the exact dimensions, but like a third of the movie was cut off when you saw it on the big
Oh,
screen. And then
oh,
yeah, so the first of all that happened, and then second of all, the sound mix was terrible. At first, I thought I was like, "Oh, I'm just going deaf." Like maybe this is why I can't hear it, but like dialogue was hard to hear at some points and stuff like that. And when I went to Twitter and saw that other people were saying that with like the nationwide Fathom screens, I was like, "Okay, good, I'm not deaf." But this movie is great on the big screen. When I saw it at the Alamo Draft House like 5 years ago, it was 75 millimeter or 70 millimeter print, and it was a sold out crowd. So like I don't know, 300 people in the theater, and it was just like one of the coolest theater experiences I've ever had, especially during the blood test scene, because people were all just like, you could feel the tension in the room during those scenes.
I was watching it alone, and I could, if anybody like had walked in on me, they would have been like, "Why are you so tense?" And I'm like, just look at what I'm watching.
Look what's happening.
Very interesting that it was so panned.
It's just a lot came out because like Blade Runner came out that same day. Blade Runner came out the same day as this movie, and both those movies can.
This is better than Blade Runner. I'm not the biggest original Blade Runner fan.
No, I'd agree with you there, but yeah, there's just a lot of competition between that and ET just recently coming out. That I guess for whatever reason at the time this just got dismissed, and it fucked up Carpenter's career. He had a contract with Universal, like a multi-film contract, and they canceled it when this film bombed.
Yeah, if this film did better, I think he probably has more bigger move. Like he probably gets bigger budgets because he never really gets budgets much bigger than like $5 to $10 million, right? If I from memory, because
I think Escape from LA was like a lot, but that was mostly because what's his name?
Kurt Russell was in it.
Yeah, Kurt Russell was in it, and Kurt Russell probably just like helped a lot with the budget right there. But I'm trying to look up what exactly that was.
This had a $15 million budget, and it made 19.6. So I mean,
it wasn't like a total bomb, but it wasn't a box office success, I guess. But his biggest budget ever was Escape from LA. I just looked up; it was 50 million budget. So, but for the most part, most Carpenter movies are like in the 10 to 5 million budget range. Yeah.
And I know he got very jaded with Hollywood, and this probably feels like the start of that cynicism that he developed, because like he just kind of produces music now. He doesn't direct or anything anymore.
Yeah, he hasn't made a film in like 20 years, and now all he does is like he does the scores for like random movies like the Firestarter remake or the new Halloween movies.
That's what I liked about the score too, and it's a theme of about like throughout all of his movies, because he does a lot of his own scores.
He didn't for this one though.
He didn't. Okay, I thought he did. The style was very Carpenter-esque.
Yeah, the guy basically like found like his tune. I'm trying to look up his exact name. Ennio Morricone. He also did the sound composing. What's it called? That Tarantino movie.
Hateful Eight.
Yeah, and he won an Oscar for that one. But yeah, basically like he took like tons of Carpenter, and like you could really feel in some scenes where like even in this like shitty film screen that I was just talking about earlier, you could still hear the soundtrack just boom right there and just like keeps you tense along with the rest of the movie.
I like how directionless it is though, right? Like it's not like like a lot of times there's a lot of indications in film scores of where things are going. It's way more ambiance and way more tone setting, and much less like trying to guide the audience in a specific direction. It's not an issue. Do you think the climax of the ending, not like the last scene in the movie, the climax of the ending, I feel like it was just like they ran out of budget and they were like, "We got one stick of dynamite left. Here you go, Kurt Russell. You're gonna throw it at this monster, and that's it."
throw it at Brimley thing, that diabetes thing.
Yeah, throw it at the diabetes monster. The thing should be repurposed as a diabetes ad. That's what it should be. Like, it shouldn't have
If
been
you have
this.
type 2 diabetes like I have,
It should have been they should have just aired this movie for an hour and a half, being like, this is what happens. You get, and just like his face, this is what happens when you get
It's
diabetes.
constantly Brimley. It's like one of those like before or after ads where it's just like the before is just regular old Brimley and after is the Brimley thing.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect marketing. I feel like, not that the climax is bad, just that it's like you see the creature for like 20 seconds and then he just blows it up. And like, I get it's out of desperation. I feel like the movie could have used maybe 30 seconds more of just the creature. And I think we're both pretty well spoken of being like, if your movie can be shorter, make it shorter. I'm not saying add a lot of time to this movie. I'm just saying, like, add a
You wish
little
you got a little
time.
more like glory shots of the monster at the end and everything.
Yeah, just like maybe him like striking down on him once or twice, right? Like, just something added to the tension of it. It felt like, okay, we're out of time, we're out of budget, throw the dynamite stick, we're done, move on.
Yeah, of all like the things, Blair thing, I think wasn't the most compelling. I mean, earlier the guy Norris who his neck comes off, he becomes the spider thing. That was probably like the highlight in terms of special effects. For me.
The spider thing was awesome, and like the tension when he couldn't get the flamethrower to work.
Oh yeah,
Greedy, like he's just trying to get it thing, and right as it's crawling out, he's finally able to zap it. So awesome. But
that's great.
You know what I love about like the true ending though, the final ending? I love how there's still no trust. There's still no.
So what? I like how it ends in a very ambiguous way.
Yeah.
So what do you think happened at the end? All
Well,
right.
Well, let's listen to it first. Come on, Tommy. You sent me this.
you the only one who made it?
Not the only one.
Did you kill it?
Where were you, Charles?
Thought I saw Blair. I went out after him. Got lost in the storm. Fire's got the temperature up all over the camp. Won't last long, though.
Neither will we.
How will we make it?
Maybe we should.
If you're worried about me,
If we've got any surprises for each other, I don't think we're in much shape to do anything about it.
I love how utterly exhausted they are and how they still do not trust each other whatsoever. Like the final big creature reveal, and they're still like, we're probably infected. Like, we should not survive the night.
They both are just so distrustful of each other in that moment where they just like they know that one of them might be the thing, but they are just so tired. They're like, if you kill me, you fucking kill me at this point. Like, it's over for me.
Do you think they're infected?
I go back and forth on it. I think that Kurt Russell might not be infected, but I think that Keith David Childs is definitely infected.
Why do you think he's infected?
Just like there's some the fact that he was away for so long, it would just be almost too convenient if he was just randomly like, oh, I'm a human too. I'm so okay. I didn't get infected right there. There's some subtle things you kind of notice at times where, like at the end of the scene, Kurt Russell, his breath is showing so much during that scene, like over and over again. And you see Keith David, you don't really see it at all. His breath is very muted or whatever. So I think that's a sign.
Do you think Carpenter actually had an intention of directing it, or do you think it was just like, let's just film the ending?
They went back and forth on the ending. There was an original ending that was Childs and McReady both turn into a thing, and then they get rescued in like the spring, and they greet their savers saying like, "Oh, like, hey, which way to a hot meal?" And Carpenter's like, "No, we can't do that. That'd be awful."
Thank God they didn't do that.
Yeah. So, and then there was another one where it was just Kurt Russell by himself about Keith David and didn't really test well. So then he did this one where it was like, let's keep it on an ambiguous note. And I think it's the perfect ending for this movie.
I am a star. I'm a star, I'm a star, I'm a star. I am a big, bright, shining star.
Who is the star of this movie, Tom?
If not Kurt Russell, I guess we have to do an honorary shout out to Rob Bottin for the special effects.
Yeah, I mean, acting wise, it's definitely Kurt Russell. Like you can tell why he's become a star. He's so cool and collected. Even when he's fully paranoid, it's you still want to trust him for whatever reason. He's just like he's not reassured whatsoever, but he always has like a hint of reassurance in his voice. I feel like in all of his movies he has that. That's like maybe his best like dialect trait that's like consistent. He was great in this. Do you think this is his best performance in any of the Carpenter movies?
It's very close between this or Snake Plissken for me, I think, from Escape from New York.
They're a little more similar than Big Trouble in Little China, where I'm blanking on the guy's Jake something, right?
Jack Burton.
Jack Burton, right? Like he thinks he's the hero, but he's not, and it's a little more goofy than those two. Where this one, he's a little more stern and collected. Like in Escape from New York, he's basically doing Clint Eastwood impressions.
Yeah, I think he even admitted that, where he's like, "Yeah, I'm just ripping off Eastwood." Yeah, and the more we talk about it, I guess this will probably be at least up there for Carpenter, his best performance.
Yeah, and we're not discrediting the rest of the cast. Like Keith David was excellent in this role. I just, he's the lead for a reason, and I was compelled by him the entire way through, and watching him slowly devolve and get caught up in the paranoia among the men. Because like there's a point where he kind of takes over as like the lead in there, and then like 10 minutes later he's joined the men as like fully paranoid. So like you're the most calm and collected and cool, and he wasn't. It caught up to everybody, and this is just such a great example of a movie where it's so nice to not have like it be creature overload. Like it's just the right amount of creature, because the real horror is between the relationships of the men fracturing. Like that's what really drives this movie and makes it the classic that it is today.
They really just let the tension between the crewmates essentially just simmer slowly. It's a very slow simmer at first, where it's just like, okay, yeah, this is happening.
Are you ready, comedy partner? Waka waka.
Would this movie work as a Muppet adaptation, Tommy? I feel like you would know better than I.
No, it'd just be too weird seeing like the Gonzo spider head thing or whatever, like just crawling around or something. It'd be too goofy.
That'd be perfect. It would be so goofy that it would work, just because it's those damn adorable puppets.
Instead of like the neck stretching out, it's just like you see felt stretching out or whatever.
Yeah, and like when he's out, like Fozzie's on the thing and his stomach opens up, and he's like chomping the other guy. He's chomping like Sam the Eagle or something like that. Just
I can see it.
I would like to see it.
Would Kermit have to be Kurt Russell?
I think you keep Kurt Russell as a human and everybody else is a Muppet.
One of us isn't human. So I got Kurt Russell. You mean all of us?
Yeah, I would see. That would be funny. That would be funny.
Yeah, exactly.
They just think the Muppets are human. I'm in. I'm in. You may not want it, but I do. So Disney, I know you're listening. Review time, Tommy. Give me a final score.
Okay, so like I said, this is one of my favorite movies of all time. One of the best even posters. I mean, I have a framed poster of this movie in my freaking apartment, and it's just the tensity, the special effects, the performances, Carpenter's direction, the score. Just there's nothing about this movie I can really complain about, and it's an endless. I rewatch this all the time, at least once a year, and I can't wait to watch it again. So 5 out of 5 stars.
5 out of 5 stars.
Pour myself a cognac, and I watch the 14 Fists of McCluskey. What a picture. What a picture.
Good picture.
Are we just picking too many great movies, Tommy? Because now we're on our third. What a picture. I'm going to give it a 5 out of 5 as well, because I'm really not the biggest horror fan, but this movie is so engrossing, and I can't think of many films that have tension that builds quite like this, like where you just cut it through the screen with a knife, like you just feel it in the air. And that's so impressive to me. We mentioned like the cinematography being great, the special effects being great, the cast being perfectly casted. I can't really speak of anything ill other than maybe the ending being like 30 seconds longer, like the climax. Other than that, you're sitting down for a true master class of horror. And I would highly recommend this movie to anybody.
Yeah. This is I think one of the few 5 out of 5 star movies that we both gave 5 stars.
No, all through. No, maybe I don't know. So, Tommy,
It's been a while.
any last thoughts? Any last words?
So once again, this movie fucking rocks. Thanks again, guys, for listening. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at CNETPod and TikTok too, and leave us a 5-star review. It really helps out the pod. And we have a good schedule coming up next month, Tim. Well, we're covering Forrest Gump next week, and that's where we could kick off our July.
Yeah, for the 4th of July weekend, you're all going to hear about why life is like a box of chocolates. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.